Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here, Golden Opportunities Coaching. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around these parts. Today we're going to do a second audio because, well, I'm going to do a story time. Well, an educational story time anyway. Sprinkled with story will be some education because I was just inspired, and inspiration is a wonderful thing. We're going to do a story time on disabled dating because I just got off the phone with a new client who, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, is dealing with disability for the first time. She was recently, at the beginning of the year, in an accident that has left her paralyzed from the waist down. And that's unfortunate, obviously. You never want to see someone lose their freedom and mobility or anything like that. But young lady is only in her early 20s, dealing with a lot of questions, dealing with a lot of wonder and such. And a friend of hers said, hey, I know a guy who does coaching and life coaching, and he's wheelchair bound too. He might be able to give you some encouragement, direction, and all that good stuff. So the conversation unfolded into dating. And I've been very private, especially in social media, about my dating history because, well, A, it's not something I'm particularly proud of. I've done a lot of dumb things. And B, who cares, right? Like, it's part of life. We all do it. Some of us are better at it than others. Some of us are horrible at it. And it is what it is. I'm really good at helping other people get the most out of their relationships and sometimes have blinders on and choose less than satisfying ones of my own. In any event, so we talked for a while. We talked for over half an hour about disabled dating and some of the challenges that come with that and some of the things to expect and some of the pitfalls. Obviously, I couldn't speak to her from a female perspective. I can be lots of things, but a lady isn't one. However, I was able to kind of guide her through the process to get out there again and to realize that relationships are just job interviews for the position of potential partner, and it's that way for all of us, whether we're able-bodied, regardless of our age, our gender, our ethnic background, our economic background, or our disability or lack thereof. Really, a date is just a job interview to see if this person is going to fit in your life or not. And so that was the premise under which we had a discussion. And then we talked about disability stuff and came up with a few things that, as I was talking to her, I thought might entertain some of the listeners here on the YouTube channel. If you are disabled or you know someone who's disabled, please forward them this audio. It might be of benefit to them in some way. So here's the thing. The first thing is we're people, right? And so we're people with extra stuff. It doesn't mean that we are people that are broken. It doesn't mean that we're people that are stupid. It doesn't mean that we're people that are desperate, although many people in various forms of disability often feel desperate in the dating world. I know I have, and it's led to some really not so great relationships over time because a disabled person is 4 times more likely to be an overgiver, to overcompensate for some of the inadequacies and self-esteem issues that they may experience due to their limitations. So that's an issue. But beginning with, okay, if we're people and we like the same things you like as an able-bodied person, don't approach us with, hey, you probably can't stand me, or some equally obnoxious pickup line. I'll never forget it. I was out at a bar in my mid-20s, and there was a lady, and I think she thought she was trying to pick me up, or maybe it was a dare by her friends, but she came up to me and said, hey, you're pretty smart. I said, why's that? She said, you brought your own seat. But I'm bumped, like I'd never heard that one before. And I just immediately looked at her like, okay, you have a steaming pile of dog crap hanging out of your mouth because you don't make any sense whatsoever. How do you approach a person and say that right off, right? So So the big thing is talk to a person with a physical or mental or emotional disability as you would anybody else. Just because I'm in a wheelchair doesn't mean that I want to talk about my chair in the first 30 seconds of our conversation. Find something else in the room that might entertain or amuse me, like, I don't know, food, if we're in a public place, maybe the decor. Stay away from religion and politics because we don't want to get heated within the first 30 seconds of meeting. But there's a bazillion things that a person in a wheelchair can talk about. So give us the opportunity to do so, please, and thank you. So the next thing that's kind of interesting is if you've never approached someone in a wheelchair before, we expect that you're going to have questions. We expect that you might even stare because you're awkward. What we would prefer you don't do is stand and look and then go, can I ask a question? Because then it's like really awkward. Then we have to treat you like you're 5 and say, oh, sure, no problem. Look, it's a wheelchair, not a terminal disease. And on top of this, and I'm reminded of an experience I had when I was in college, and not in college, I was working at a college. I'm sorry, I've never been to college. I have no interest in going into that much debt. In any way, and so I was working at the college, and I went into the break room, and there was this young lady, and she was very intelligent. She was I believe she was a political science major, if I remember correctly. But she wasn't just there on a gen ed search. She was there doing something useful, and she pulled me aside. She said, "Can I talk to you a minute, Scott?" Okay. She says, I wanted to talk to you because I've never seen this before. And I'm like thinking, I got something hanging out my nose. Like, what haven't you seen before? And she goes, and I just waited and paused, and I waited some more, and finally about 30 seconds goes by, and it's awkward. So I finally say, you haven't seen what before? And she goes, a person in a wheelchair with a brain. And I'm like, wait, what? Well, say that again? And she proceeds to tell me how all of the, and she was from out of state, but we're back where she was from, all of the people with disabilities were severely mentally handicapped. And so her point of reference of a person with a physical disability was a person who it would be difficult to converse. I've conversed at a college level since I was in about 5th grade. I've always been a good orator, so she was rather impressed. And I spoke with her and I said, okay, well, thank you for telling me why you're telling me. She's like, because I was ashamed that I had judged everyone in your situation the same way. And so I said, do you have any questions? And she said, about? And I said, I don't know, being disabled, wheelchairs, things that we go through. And, oh, man, you talk about the mistakes you make when you just, never should have asked a question. Yep, walked right into that. Because literally she came out with a litmus test of about 40 questions in about 2.5 minutes. After that, I opened the floodgates and gave her permission to explore, and she certainly did. But it was an interesting and eye-opening experience for me, because here I am, I think I was 22, 23, 24, somewhere in there, and here's a young lady who was younger than me, probably 19 or so, and, she just had never experienced this. And so I had no problem answering her questions. I had problems with time to answer her questions, but that was a different story for a different day, and we became work friends soon thereafter. But so as long as you're respectful, any question is acceptable, right? What's it like to do this? What's the hardest part? What's the easiest part? What's the perks? Obviously, if you're a very sexual person, I am not just in the sense of, no, that's not to say that I'm not a sexual person at all, but it's not on my high list of, like, must-haves in order to get into a relationship, partially because of being physically and sexually abused. Anyway, sidebar, I know if you're dealing with someone in a wheelchair and you're thinking of dating them, you probably are curious about their ability to experience sexual pleasure and their ability to experience, life pain-free and all sorts of things. As long as you ask an intelligent, well-thought-out, respectful question, 99 times out of 100 you're going to get a respectful answer, right? Now, please don't do what I call boxing questions. So a question needs an answer, which means it needs space to breathe, right? Boxing questions is when you go, what about this, and what about that, and what about this, and what about that, and what about this, and what about that? And have you ever thought about, have you ever, and all of a sudden we're like on the ropes, like we've been in a Mike Tyson fight, because we're like trying to go, I forgot 5 questions ago what you asked. Are you sure that I can answer all of these? So, give your questions room to breathe, but as long as you're respectful, you'll get an answer. Now, there are ways to ask questions that are also more about being kind with your wording. For example, I say this to get you to laugh, so it's okay to laugh at this particular experience. I went through a phase probably about 11 or 12 years ago where I was convinced I needed to get with somebody yesterday. So I became hyperactively involved on online dating sites. And I would, if I saw something, if you like cats, if you like Garfield, if you like cat hair, if you, I would message you. Sorry about that. My acid reflux sticking up. But anyway, I would message you and be like, hey, hi. And so I was in this phase, and it lasted a few months, and then I got into a relationship. But I was in this phase, and I got this message from this very attractive, well-educated, supposedly according to her profile anyway, well-employed, female. And I was like, wow, league upgrade, here we go. I'll respond to this. Till I open the message. And she's like, okay, before we start talking, like, okay, like, you're guaranteed I'm going to talk to you. All right. Before we start talking, I have a question. Like, okay. And we go back and forth, right? Like, she doesn't say what her question is. So we get into this dialogue on what her question might be. Because now I'm curious. I'm, like, doing the Columbo thing. And she goes, you're in a wheelchair. Yeah. So part of you is kind of broken. I was like, well, not broken, but yeah, I can't stand, I can't walk. Sure. She goes, is all of you broken, or can you have sex? And I was like, what? Like, I don't know you. Number one, on what planet is this an appropriate question? Number two, if this is an appropriate question on some planet, why did you bring it to this one? Number three, did you get raised in a barn? Because I've never heard of someone who's been to school who would ask it that way. And I was like, yeah. So I responded with sarcasm, as only I can. I said, yes, all systems would go, no worries there. However, I do have a strict policy that I don't date stupid people. And based on this conversation, you're disqualified. Bye. And it was just, I was done, like I had nothing to say to this person. So you can ask awkward questions in a respectful way. Make sure that you're going to ask your questions in a way that's like, hey, I was wondering if, or a good way to do it is, look, I don't want to offend you, but like I got this question and I don't know how to ask. And we'll guide you through it. We'll walk you through it. We'll make it easier, right? Like it's not that difficult. So another one, assume that until I ask for help, I've got it. So there's this really interesting dichotomy in the disabled community where people treat disabled people mainly one of two ways, right? So there's we're going to do everything for you because you're an invalid, or we're going to do nothing for you because we want to foster your independence. To which I say, don't. What about communication and asking what I might need? So two stories to illustrate this that I find hilarious now, but didn't at the time. So I remember I went out to dinner with my biological mother. I know, bad mistake, and my girlfriend at the time. And we go out to dinner, and I excuse myself. I go to the restroom. Yes, I can do that on my own too. But so I go to the restroom, and I hadn't had a chance to look at my menu. I had left a drink order with my girlfriend at the time. It's like, hey, can you grab me this when they come by? I'll come back. I'll look at the menu. So about 10 minutes later, I come back to the table, and the waitress wanders over. And she says, is everyone ready to order? And I'm looking at the menu. I don't look up. I'm like trying to hurry because I have somewhere to be in a couple hours, and I'm trying to figure out how to get food the quickest way possible to enjoy and eat and go on my way. So I don't look up from the menu. And she takes the orders of the two ladies sitting at the table with me. And then she stops and she says, as if I'm deaf, because somehow there's this misnomer too, and it's a really interesting one, that being in a wheelchair means somehow you can't hear, so people will talk much louder to you because you're chair-bound. I haven't figured out why yet. At 38, still don't know why. Anyway, so she says, and what will he be having? Now, we didn't address me as a person. We addressed me as an object like a coat rack in the corner. So I gently put down my menu, folded my hands, and said, well, he will be having a new waitress because he is the one paying for the meal and he doesn't like the service he just received. Well, anyway, she turned about 12 shades purple, ran off, and actually I had asked to see a manager. That's how that came about. The manager got me a new waitress. Anyway, I didn't want to embarrass the poor girl, but there's some level of common sense. Another story for a different occasion. So I'm, I don't know, late 20s by this point. And if you've ever been out and about in a parking lot with someone who's going in a wheelchair, you know that there are different levels of terrain throughout the parking lot. And due to visual impairment, I can't always see how steep a grade is on, like in a parking lot, like a curve versus a step versus a slope. These are all kind of confusing things to me. And so I'd been in this particular parking lot before. It was Burger King, and I wanted something to eat. So I go up, and I'm sitting there, and it's a summer day, and I see these 5 young ladies, all under the age of, I don't know, I would say definitely under 18, many of them under 16. And they're like dressed like they belong in a Pitbull video. They are scantily clad. And so I'm like really awkward because it's like, look, I'm an abuse survivor. You girls are asking for trouble dressing that way, and I know that somebody who hears that is gonna think that's sexist. I don't mean for it to be, but the fact of the matter is, if you do not want to get in any sort of trouble, you should dress somewhat appropriately, especially if you're a teenager. I mean, you can't have femininity, doesn't mean you can't express sexuality, but don't be hanging out all over yourself. Anyway, I go up to the door, and as most people know, the Burger King doors can be somewhat heavy, so I'm pulling the door backwards. As they're walking, they walk by me, and they go to walk inside. So I think, great! One of these teenage folks can be nice and hold the door for me. And I watch as they walk past, all of them, and then they go and they walk through the door, and the ringleader amongst them smirks at me, as if to say, ha ha, we left the person in the wheelchair to struggle. Okay, I take 30 seconds to calm down before I play Frogger with the teenagers, and I quickly decide it's not worth it. I'm hungry and I don't want to catch a charge, so I'm going to behave. So I go inside, and the ringleader has on a two-piece bathing suit. She has tucked her wallet inside her 2 sizes too small bikini, and she leans forward, out falls the wallet, it's on the floor, she doesn't see it. So now I think this is a great teaching tool opportunity, right? Like, I'm reasonably impressed. I proceed to grunt and groan and carry on and go, and I'm holding my back and I'm going to get the wallet, and I grab it, and I tap the girl on the shoulder, and I kindly say, "Hi, I think I've seen you before," quickly acknowledging how nice you've been to me outside, "but I figured you might need this if you wanted to pay for your meal." Well, her and her friends turn 12 shades of purple, and they all flee the restaurant. Like, they run away. Which leads to the quandary that they've ordered probably about $30 or $40 worth of food that now no one is there to pick up. So the manager, who was going to throw it away, probably shouldn't have done this, but every once in a while people can have some common sense. Health department can go headbutt a brick wall. He says, "Would you like some free food?" And I said, "Yes." And he gave me at least one of the bags that were going to be thrown away anyway. So my point in all of this is to say, assume that a disabled person can do whatever's in front of them unless they ask for help. But also, if you're going to date someone with a disability, assume that there are things in their daily life, some of them daily living tasks, others of them just nuances, some of them they may need adaptive equipment, but assume that there is something in a disabled person's life that they're going to need help with. If you are a person who does not want to be slowed down or who doesn't like to help people, please find someone else to date. Thank you very much. So the next thing is understanding that we're used to being stared at. We're used to random questions from strangers. We're used to kids thinking we're anything from ugly to cute. We're used to strangers getting out of our way and apologizing for being in our way, and then other strangers who could care less and have no body spatial acuity, and so they don't realize they're in the way. We're used to all of these things. It's okay if it ticks you off, but please do not play RoboCop and try to avenge me because someone's standing in a way that doesn't allow me to get by. I've got this. I've asked people to move out of the way before. I will have to do it during our relationship. And after you are long gone, unless we work out, like one of the few, after you're long gone, I'll have to do it again. Use common sense when figuring out that people don't understand things that are different from them. Therefore, they stare rather than ask questions, and it's a part of our lives. The next thing of note is we use sarcasm. Sarcasm as icebreakers if you're disabled becomes part of your daily life because so many people, even 30 years after the enactment of the American with Disabilities Act, are still uncomfortable at the very least, sometimes dismissive or prejudiced, depending on how bad it is, of people with physical or emotional or in some cases mental disabilities. Look, we get it. We're different. We noticed. Some of us can't put on a pair of shoes. Others of us can't drive a car. Others of us can't remember what we did last night. Every disability is different. Every situation is different. So understand that we've heard everything, which means we're probably going to be a little more punchy than the average person. And if you can't handle us coming at you with a interesting approach to your over-asked question, you know, well, maybe you're too soft and this isn't going to work out. The next one that's equally important here is, yes, you can ask questions about the wheelchair, and yes, if in the event you have somebody who can transfer in and out of a chair or whatever, you can borrow it. We don't mind if you play with it. Please don't break it. And also, if you're playing with it, ask if it has anti-tip bars. I cannot tell you the number of times I have seen people play with wheelchairs and flip themselves over and nearly knock themselves out because they didn't realize that a wheelchair has to have tip bars before it becomes something where it won't tip over if you're too rough with it. Let's see. Number 8. There are perks to being disabled. There are perks to being wheelchair bound. We will share these with you. Once in a while, there are people that will be nice and let us go ahead in line. Every once in a while, you can find a parking space with a handicap parking sticker that's closer to the door. Every once in a while, there are people who will give us free things or do nice things for us just because we're disabled and they're uncomfortable. There's advantages in parking and advantages in the fact that because we're physically disabled, we have to have a deeper intellectual relationship a lot of the time because physically we can't, which means that the relationship style is going to be much different for you than anything you've had before unless you've dated someone with a disability beforehand. Lastly, love is love. Love is unconditional acceptance. My chair, your crutches, your hearing aids, my eyes, whatever it is, should not matter. And furthermore, if someone tries to tell you that because you have limitations, you cannot date or should not date, I invite you to look up Nick Vujicic. I do not have the spelling of his last name in front of me, but he is a Christian evangelist who has no arms, no legs, done amazing things with his life, evangelized to some 100 countries plus, and is still going strong. But he has the most beautiful wife and beautiful children, and you never know that he had limitations until you physically see him. I admire him. He is a hero to me, and at the very end of the day, if you have issues with people's disabilities, when you're watching some of his videos will definitely change your perception, hopefully for the better. And let's see, I think there's one more. Let me check here my notes. No, I think that's where we end. Love is love, right? Love is unconditional acceptance. Some of us find it, some of us won't. I have strict rules. I'm not getting serious with anybody until all my debt is paid off, which is going to take a good bit of time because I'm only drawing in about, a little bit above my bills to be able to pay down on the credit cards. But I'll get there. When I get there, I intend to open an Indian company. I intend to be doing a lot of stuff. But we thank you for joining us on the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel, and we will hook up again very soon, somewhere down the road. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.